Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Arpit and I'm going to explain to you how properties file work in Java. Properties file is nothing but just a key pair value. So if you have used hash map, you would know what exactly it means. Properties file are commonly used in Java. So if you are Java user, you must have dealt with properties file one day or the other. Properties file are generally used to either store some sort of static information or some sort of configuration, or sometime user wants other user to dynamically update some information which then can be read using a properties file. Today I'm going to show you how to use properties file. So if you look at my screen, I have created an example property file. I have called it test.properties. I have stored 4 different key pair values. So anything on the left hand side of equal sign is treated as a key, and anything on the right hand side is treated as a value. Whenever you want to, let's say, request name, you will be return a value on the right hand side, which is Sam in my case. You can store as many key pair values as you like, and because it's a text file, it will be returning you string. So even if you add let's say properties called number of runs equals 50, the 50 will be returned to you as a string. So it's your responsibility to convert it into integer or long or whatever you like. People do use properties file for storing complex information. For hobbies, I wanted to add more than one hobby, so I have said cricket and then colon and then table tennis. This colon is basically my delimiter, so I can, once I receive this value, I can always split it using colon and then I will get more than one value. So yeah, there are many ways of using properties file, but I have just shown you a very simple example. Now we will look at it how to use it programmatically. Let's try and load properties file first. So to load properties file, you need to use properties.load method. Now properties file parsing is very common in Java. So since JDK 1, Java supports property file parser naturally. So we will use Java's utils class called properties. I'm just going to call that props maybe. And once you use that, you can call the method called properties.load. And as you can see, it expects input stream as an object. So I'm going to create an file input stream object and call it input stream. And then we have to pass the file name. So I'm going to create a path for my file. So let's call it string path equals. So we need to know where our properties file is. So as you can see in my project, my properties file is inside directory called conf, and the property file name is test.properties. So if we start from root, then directory called conf, and then the file called test.properties. And if I pass that file path in the input stream, and then pass this input stream object into a properties.load function, we will have our properties file loaded. So if I execute this code, as you can see, there is no error. If file is not present or it's a different name, you will generally get an exception. If you want to try it, let me change the name, remove s, and then you will see exception that it can't find this file. So yeah, if you have the file loaded correctly, you would see no error, and that's what I would like to see here. So now that we have loaded the file, I would like to show you how to get some key values using the properties file. So as you can see on the right hand side, I opened the test.properties file, and you can see that I have added some key value pairs. So let's try and get the value of name. So to do that, I'm just gonna use system.out.println, so you can see what I'm getting. And because we are trying to get name, let's just use name as a keyword. And you can use method called get properties. So in get property, you have to provide the exact key that you are trying to get value for. In our case, it's a name. So let's execute this code, and you can see that we got Sam back, which is exactly what we expected. Now let me try another example, maybe hobbies. So if I copy hobbies here, oops, and execute the same code again, you can see that we now got cricket and table tennis as a value. So this is how you call properties file and then get the value for any key that you like to see. Before I show you the set method, let me show you one of the important way of using properties file, because sometimes what happens as a user, you don't know which keys to use, and it could be because you are not the one who wrote the properties file, or it's been a long time and you forgot all the keys and you don't have direct access to that properties file, so you don't want to open it and read it as well. So the one way to print it is either read it as a text file and then print it out, but we can do the same thing using the properties object. So let me show you how it's done. To achieve that, we need to first create the enumeration object, which basically holds all the property names. So we can use this method called property names, and as you can see, it returns the enumeration object. So we will store everything inside this object called enumeration, and we would call type equals question mark, so that means accept any kind of objects. Once we have all the property names in our list, we can iterate through that. So we can say, as long as you have more elements, which is has more elements method, please repeat this task. So the only part we don't know is the key. So this enumeration object has all the keys now. So we can just say, give me the next key from your list. And because we don't know what kind of object it is, we need to cast it. So I'm just going to cast it in a string, because we know properties file can only store strings. So now we have the key, and I already showed you how to get the value once you have the key with you. So to get the value for that key, you can just say value equals our object dot get property and then pass the key inside. So now we have both key and value pairs. So I'm just going to print it out. Now before I execute this code, there is one important note that you have to keep it in mind. Because all the properties file values are stored in a hash map, the hash map does not store key and value pair in the order that you have written down. So it stores in the earliest possible space and most efficient way of parsing it. So it's a complex logic that it follows, and that's why there is no guarantee that all the key map value pair will be stored in the same sequence. So when we ask enumeration object to give us the key, it also gives key in different order. So that means whenever we iterate through these, we will still get all the elements that we are after, but it won't be in the same order that you see in your properties file. So when I execute it, you will see what I mean. So let's run this program. Oh, before I run it, let me comment out our previous logic so we don't mix it up. So if I execute it now, as you can see, the entire properties file elements are printed, but they are not in the exact same order. So as you can see, the name is first and then hobbies, but we had a last name, and last name is moved somewhere below here. So if you understand hash map, you will know what I mean. As long as you are getting all the key value pairs, The sequence doesn't matter. Now we have come to the point where I can explain you how to use set values. So before we go there, let me show you an example. What happens if someone is querying the property which is not present in the properties file. So if I take our existing code and instead of name, let me query age. And as you can see in the properties file, there is no key value pair for age. So when I execute this code, it actually returns null. Let me comment out our previous code so we don't mix it up. As you can see, the age is returning null, which is as expected because there is no element for age. So how do we get around that? Because some programs do not like value returned as null. So what properties file provide us is another method which accepts the default argument. If I add a default argument during the query, so whenever the age returns null, instead of returning null as a value, it will return me the default value instead. So if I execute this program, you can see instead of null now it returns me 21. So it's very important method because there are many programs out there which do not accept null parameter. So it's good to provide some default value. Now default value is okay, but sometimes you do want those properties to return the right value. So this is where the set method comes into story. So instead of setting some default value, how about we inject the property file with some dynamic key value pair, and so then it always returns the right value. So you can use the set property method where you can define the key and the value you want it to be returned. So instead of 21, let's call it 31. So from now on, whenever we return age, it will be 31. So if I execute this program, you can see that now it returns 21. Now it returns 31. So this is how you inject the key pair value into the existing property file object. Now important thing here to note is that the injected value is injected into the hashmap object. So it is not returning to the properties file, and that means it's not static. So if you destroy this object or if you shut down this program, which is essentially destroying the object, next time around when you run this program, you would not get 31. Just to prove the point, I can comment out this setting of the value, and if I re-execute this program, you will see that it still returns null. That means property file still does not have the element called age. So remember this point, it's very important that whenever you set properties, it is injected dynamically and it's only stored in the object and not to the property file. The same way you can set property, you can remove property. So if I just execute method called remove and I provide the key that I would like to remove, it would actually remove it from the hash table. So again, it won't be removed from the property file physically, it would just be removed from the hash table. So in this program, if I execute, I expect it to be setting 31. So when I request it, I will get 31 first. Then I will remove the age from the hash table, and then again it will start returning null. Just to see how it works, 31 first and then null. So now you guys know how to use property file, how to load it, how to iterate through each key value pair, how to set property, how to remove property, and how to set default value as a return in case your program does not like handling null. Thank you guys for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions, please leave me your comments on the video. See you next time.